Hey ladies, welcome back. We've got our 40 days and 40 nights of enjoying life. That's right, we are video 12 in our series for the empaths in training, and today's topic is regarding toxicity. I feel this is important because we are definitely prone to carrying toxicity within our bodies, within our digestive system, within the things we eat, our environment, and even our relationships. It's sad, but unfortunately, many of us are born into families that have this toxic idea that we owe our families much of ourselves. Many of us have been born as the eldest, and in my family in particular, I was the eldest, or I am the eldest. My mother was the eldest. My grandmother is the eldest, and it's automatically assumed that a person in this position has to sacrifice for the family. They are to put aside the things of their life for their mother or the children in the family. I was raised like a small adult, as it was. They saw me as little adult. Little old lady is what they used to call me. I was definitely a black sheep, and I had strange interests. For instance, my deep interest in spiritual things they thought was funny. An 8-year-old seeking to find places of worship. Anyhow, these things run deep, and it has a powerful effect on us psychologically, because you'll hear it from young, just how much you are supposed to sacrifice to your family. There's not supposed to be a question about it. And so that becomes your place. And that becomes your place in life, whether you want it or not, unfortunately. And in that process, you neglect yourself, because this is so deeply ingrained, and this responsibility is put upon you at a very young age. It's instilled in you that it is your responsibility to care for the family, to care for your mother who may be sick, or your father. From young, they turn to you, and this is placed upon you. In my family, I had my grandmother and even my uncle pressure this upon me, as well as my mother, who raised me to help her raise the children, when my father is out of the home. And this wasn't because he didn't want to be there, it was because my mother would make him leave. And I can understand that in some ways, but in others I can't. But this responsibility is despite what you have to sacrifice and the toxic relationships that are built within the family. Everybody seems to have this place. There's always the eldest child who's expected to be the straight A student and expected to help mommy and be the little adult. There's always the scapegoat. There's always the lost child. There's always mommy's little favorite, or, the mama's boy of the family, things like that. I have 6 brothers. I have a sister. We couldn't be any more different. We're night and day, all right? She had a sense of freedom, and she didn't have that placement that was chosen already for her like I did. Although she too was expected as one of the oldest of the family to step up and take responsibility for not only my mom, who was sick, but the children who were small and needed looking after because my mother was ill. And you can be expected to give of yourself in ways that is really unfair. You know, I've lost so much having to sacrifice and give in order to help raise the younger children in the family, because my mother was not mentally in a place where she could. It was very hard. You know, I was young. I was a young mother myself with my own family. And these things can destroy your own personal relationships if you are married, or if you have a long-term partner. It can affect your job or your school, whatever it is that you do. To get education, to pay your bills. I have had to, for instance, I get calls from my mother, my job all the time, or I would get calls about emergencies that were going on at home constantly, brothers showing up at my work. The responsibility was so incredible that I found myself behaving in ways that I normally would not have. You know, many of us as empaths turn to things to hold on to get through that are unhealthy. You know, some people overeat. There are others who turn to alcohol. I did for a while. And it was rough, because the anxiety and the stress can become so much. It's incredible to bear. And having such a pride about myself, for instance, it was hard to try to stay strong and always carry yourself with dignity, so that you didn't let on to others that you were really falling apart inside. Now, I'm not going to lie, I still have many of those issues today. I have a son who is incredibly difficult, that his father and I honestly fear, because we know what our son is capable of as far as being destructive and wanting to get his way, and having a highly entitled attitude. You know, him being the only child, I tried to raise my younger brothers around him so he would have other siblings and learn to share and not feel so alone, because that's what he needed. You know, when I was young, I prayed for the opposite. I wanted to be alone. I used to hide in my room and sketch and do my artwork and my collages and my homework, and I loved being alone, but it was different for him. And so, besides the fact that the responsibility was there, it was needed. And so these things can be placed upon us from very young. This is how a lot of dysfunction begins in our families, and it's not easy. It's not easy at all. Okay, and so I want to finish this off to say that This is why it's incredibly important for you to understand how and why toxicity needs to be rid of in your life. It's not something you can do overnight, but it's something that you can do a little bit of each and every day. Emotional awareness is an incredible one, and it's a big one for us because we are such natural feelers, you know, and our hearts are powerful. You know, we are very magnetic and we attract much in our lives. Unfortunately, we also attract what's unhealthy. And we have to learn how to utilize and cope. Much of this requires being strict with your diet, um, particularly when it involves anything intestinal, because a lot of us carry, that's where we carry our stress and our emotions as well. We can get pain like this within a snap of a finger. And we have very delicate systems. And so we need to watch out for foods. We need to watch out for those that are around us that carry heavy, dark emotions, that are in a dark place in their minds. We get so affected by that, you know, because we try so hard to make everything right around us, to make everybody feel at home, to be the best and most hospitable and loving caretaker possible. And we can't even relax before that has happened. And that needs to be taken care of. We need to learn how to be okay with ourselves and enjoy our days and our lives without another person having that much power over us. So you need to really ask yourself, how much power does somebody have over you? And if their toxic emotions is invading your life, your environment, are you carrying with you a life that allows for peace? Do you have a spiritual life? You know, sometimes what people consider spiritual is actually very toxic to them, you know. And you need to take a second look at that, you know. What are you believing? And are these beliefs limiting? And many of us do carry religious ideas that were instilled with us from small that are detrimental to our soul care. Which brings me to, how are you loving yourself? How are you showing care and love for yourself? Because while you're running around caring for everybody else and making sure that they're okay and that they're happy and that they are fine, many neglect and sacrifice their own care for another person. And they're again giving away their power, their freedom, their independence. You're tied and you're anchored down. This can no longer happen. You know, you lose yourself. You lose yourself. And by the time you do get around to yourself, you feel like you're 4 times your age. You feel broken down, burned out, tired, like you want to give up. But I'm here to ask you to not do that. Each day, little by little, you can remove what's toxic and what's harmful from your life. Get healthy. Allow spirit to reside in your heart, your soul, and your mind. And remove all that gunk. And find a level of happiness in your life so that you can enjoy your life every day. You deserve it. You deserve it. Now, to wrap things up here, because we've gone on a little long, I'd like you to respond in the comments below and let me know, were you expected, without question, to take on responsibility within your family, to be the rock? Do you feel that without you, things are going to fall apart? So you keep trying to juggle everything to make it work right. Are you having panic attacks? Are you suffering an addiction? Because it's the only way you feel that you can find some level of getting away. Are you alone? Are you afraid to express what's happening with you? Do you feel like you're the only person in the world that this is going on with? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you've enjoyed this video series thus far. Make sure you hit the like button and engage. I can see this really turning into something that's going to be, it's going to be transformational for all of us, because I'm transforming, and I have been, and I get stronger every single day. I feel powerful, honestly, to tell you the truth. And I feel like nothing can hold me back. And if this is where you would like to be, stick with me. Let's do this together, because this is a journey that requires all of us to walk on together as friends, as family, people who understand, people who get it. And until then, my sisters, until later, I love you. Hold on. Pray. Because it works. Stick with spirit and rely on that inner guidance and that beautiful heart that you have within you. It's going to be okay. Until later, my loves. Peace.